The fantastic and brilliant Dave White is back for more film review goodness. We're talking about Judy Blume Forever, a fantastic documentary that you should see. But first, if you've not subscribed yet, you really should, because even though we're heading into summer movie season, we will always take time to talk about a documentary that we think you should see, and Judy Blume Forever is definitely that. So thank you for hanging out with us.
Let's all say it. Masturbation. Let's raise our hands if we masturbate. Everybody. Oh, Judy.
Judy Blume Forever. This is directed by Davina, Pardo, and Leah Wolchok, and it is about Judy Blume. And Judy Blume is sort of having a moment, as they say, which is a phrase that I hate, but she truly is, because Are You There, God, It's Me, Margaret is coming out on Friday, and we'll have a review of that as well. Katie Walsh is going to be here for that. But it's about how she essentially invented the YA genre and
Pretty
just
much.
how trailblazing she was in the 70s with her writing books like Are You There, Guys, Me and Margaret, and Forever, and Deenie, and Super Fudge, and what are some of
Blubber.
your favorites?
I read Are You There, God, It's Me, Margaret when I was a child, because I was a child in the 1970s. And that
Yeah.
was where she came along. There was this understanding as the baby boomers moved into adulthood and took over the 1970s that their approach to how children should be raised was going to be markedly different from the way they were raised. They were going to be open and honest and give their children information. Judy Blume came along at exactly the right time for this sort of national mood. And she wrote Are You There, God, It's Me, Margaret, about a little girl who is about to hit puberty, and she wants to have breasts, and she wants to understand menstruation. And all the girls in my elementary school were reading it, and they were keeping it away from the boys. And I thought, this is a secret that you have, and I'm going to find out what it is, because I was a voracious reader when I was a little kid. I still am. There's a chaos of books behind us here. And it's something Judy Blume says in the documentary. It's one of the reasons she wound up becoming a writer. When she was raised, when she was a child in the 40s and 50s, adults kept secrets from children, and she hated those secrets. She says this in the film. I hated those secrets, and I wanted to know what they were, and I was going to find out. And so she did. She read and she read and she read. And it, as I watched it, I thought, that's exactly what happened to me. You know, I was the oddball. I can't even speak. I was the oddball child in my family, and my parents had no idea what to do with me. I didn't want to go play sports. They took me to the library instead. We were a little town, went to the library. I got to pick out any book I wanted. They allowed me unsupervised reading, and I read a lot of things that were maybe too adult for me. But you know what? I learned stuff. And then I got that copy of Are You There, God, It's Me, Margaret, and I learned stuff about the girls and the secrets they were keeping. And then I read Blubber. And then in middle school, they did it all over again. The girls were carrying around Forever and passing it secretly back and forth to each other. And I was like, oh, here's another one trying to keep it from us. Because they would literally say things like, this is not for boys. Right. Boys can't read this book. And I was like, I'm going to read this book. So I
Page 84, especially.
Apparently, yeah. I had forgotten that part about how he names his dick. It's like, okay. She opened up the world to children who wanted to know things, and they wanted understandings of their bodies and their lives, and were their feelings shared by other people, were their experiences shared by other people. One of the most wonderful things of this documentary is they've got interviews with now women who are my age, who are saying things like, I was 9 and I started writing to her and she wrote me back. And she kept writing back to me. Like Judy Blume had actual correspondence with some of these kids for, you know, the happy parts and some actually very harrowing situations that kids were in that you learn later on in the film. She is so important to young adult literature and what it would become. And I also loved how this film in the 1980s tells you about how the minute Ronald fucking Reagan became president, the right-wingers decided, now we have a mandate to push down on all of what they considered to be permissiveness in the culture, and they started banning books in earnest. Recently, and the part where she's on with Pat Buchanan, she had no idea who he was, and he tried to get her in this talk show that she was like Crossfire, I think it was.
Yeah.
And she's like, "You're obsessed with sex."
No, masturbation in particular.
Yes, masturbation
he's talking
in
about
particular.
Deenie, where they talk about masturbation.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the thing with the correspondence with the readers is incredibly emotional. And she kept boxes and boxes, and they are all in like the Yale library on Hello Kitty and Star Wars stationery and big bubble letters. It's so sweet. Yeah, she's 85 or so
85.
now, and so spiky, so sweet. Like that voice is still so true and so honest about her own life and honest about her own mistakes and honest about, what it was like to be a woman in the 60s who didn't want to be the dutiful housewife, and how the other bitches on the cul-de-sac would be like, "Oh, how's your little book coming?
How's your little book? When are you going to write a real book?" Yeah.
And I'm sure that now they're all like, "I'm friends with Judy Blume."
Or you were.
Oh my God.
Well, maybe.
So she's honest about her mistakes, and she's honest about how she was supposed to be this sweet little person, but she had, a devious side to her, and that's how this came out. But even though the books are very of their time in terms of cultural references, like
there's a lot of
dated
dated material. Yeah,
the emotions are universal and relatable across generations, and this movie is really a great celebration of that legacy, and how she just kind of happened to invent a whole genre, which is massive, multi-billion-dollar, literary genre. Now she was really the first to speak to kids in this in-between age. And explore their fears and their hopes and their desires and in ways that are truthful.
And it wraps up with this dire warning about where we are right now, all over again, with this frenzy for banning books. And guess what book they're trying to ban again? Are you there, God? It's Me, Margaret, and Forever, and any other number of her books that are a little too spicy for dipshits.
But she's fighting the good fight because she and her husband have a bookstore in Key West with a whole section of banned books.
Yep.
So anyway, this is informative and funny and emotional, surprisingly very emotional. I found myself crying at some parts of it. So go check her out. Go check out the movie Judy Blume Forever. It is on Prime Video. Dave, what's your number?
Oh gosh, I always forget about the number. Let's call it 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll say 8.5. Let's do it. Judy Blume Forever. Go check it out. Dave, you're amazing. Thank you for your insights. Thank you for reading all the naughty stuff with me.